Chanaka Ratwata and 4 others remanded for swindling 4.2 million rupees of central bank funds. Dry weather experienced across many areas of the country. Court orders for persons affected by Uma Oya to be compensated and water supply to be restored before December 31st. Detectives advised to conclude investigations into the youth who went missing from police custody in Hambantota within 2 days.
Hello there, very good evening and welcome to your Primetime News Bulletin. I'm Shane Silva.
And I'm Mahina Bongzo. Here's a look at your top story for tonight. What would have happened to our country if the January 8th transformation had not occurred? Addressing an event in Colombo today, President Maithripala Sirisena posed this question to those who criticize him as well as the government.
The President was speaking at the launching ceremony of the book Maduru Janavari Atta, or The January 8th Witnessed by Me, written by Member of Parliament Malit Jayatilaka.
මේ ඡන්දයට ලෑස්ති වුණේ 2013 අවුරුද්දේ මැද භාගයේ ඉඳලා.
By mid-2013, we were preparing for the elections. The then government appointed committees to make primary preparations for this. However, as a minister, I was not included in any of those committees. Those were secretive committees and included persons from the Presidential Secretariat and external organizations. As they governed the country excluding the ministers, they attempted to organize an election. Allocation for district development for the year 2014 through the budget was more than what was allocated in previous years since it was for an election. The then Minister of Economic Development visited all the districts. The huts, chairs, sound systems and the funds to provide rice packets for the participants were dispatched from Colombo. MPs and ministers from respective districts were not informed to muster support for those people. No matter how hard they came at me, I attended the meeting in Polonnaruwa. After the welcome by the district secretary, the minister spoke for 45 minutes to an hour in each district. Then an envelope was handed over. The contents was not a check, it was a letter. That is how the election campaign started.
ඒ ඡන්ද ව්‍යාපාරය ආරම්භ කරපු හැටි.
Insufficient rainfall over the past few weeks has left many districts in distress.
The Tamankaduwa, Valikanda, Lankapura and Dimbulagala divisional secretariat areas in Polonnaruwa have been gravely affected by the dry weather. Water levels at the Parakrama Samudra have dropped to 30% as of this evening, while water levels at the Giritale, Kantale, Mineria and Kaudulla reservoirs have also dropped drastically. As depletion of water sources is on the rise, locals in Polonnaruwa are faced with a drinking water crisis. The Anuradhapura district was also affected by the dry weather. This is the Tissavava irrigation tank, which has a capacity of 3,440 acre-feet. Our correspondents reported that the water capacity had dropped to 790 acre-feet. The water level of the Nura River has reduced to 16,500 acre-feet as of this morning. Many areas in Trincomalee, Munawargala, Anuradhapura and Hambantota have also been affected by the dry weather, and levels of Mahavali reservoirs have also dropped drastically. According to the Mahavali Authority, levels of most reservoirs are below 30%. Water levels of the Victoria Reservoir have dropped to 63%, while the levels of the Randanigala Reservoir was at 41%. Due to the absence of rains for several weeks, the bottom gates of the Kotmale Reservoir were opened in a bid to supply water to the farmlands in surrounding areas. The Mahavali Authority has raised caution when using the Pala Kotmale Oya and the Mahavali River in the coming days. Water levels of reservoirs and irrigation tanks administered by the Department of Irrigation have dropped to 40%. The Ceylon Electricity Board says that hydropower generation has dropped to 20%, adding that there will be no power cuts as the supply is being met through thermal and wind power generation. According to the National Water Supply and Drainage Board, daily water consumption in many areas has increased due to the dry weather. Chairman of the board, A.A. Anzar, said that consumption in Colombo has increased by 5 to 6%. The National Water Supply and Drainage Board added that bowsers will be dispatched to supply water to affected areas, and complaints have been made citing that pipe water is not sufficiently provided to higher ground.
Hambantota in the far south saw rapid development in the recent past. However, locals are now faced with numerous issues, with the human-elephant conflict being one of the main issues that they face.
Following the identification of movement patterns of elephants who travel through the Udawalawa, Lunugambehera and Buntala national parks, a proposal was made to create a managed elephant reserve which spans an area of 14,000 hectares in order to curb the effects of the human-elephant conflict. Around 450 wild elephants now call this area their home, according to the Wildlife Department. According to environmentalists, rapid development in the area and illegal cultivations had attributed to a loss of 3,000 hectares of land from the reserve. A visit to the location proved that the board which identifies the area as a reserve has only been limited to a signboard. Since 2010, 16 lives were lost due to the human-elephant conflict in Hambantota alone. During the same period, 48 wild pachyderms paid with their lives. Environmentalists are of the view that development drives have destroyed many elephant passes. As a result of this, our correspondents report that frequent wild elephant attacks are reported from areas surrounding Bandagiriya, Beragama, Katuwava, Walsapugala and Suryabawa. Recently, Newsfirst observed the grounds in which these elephants tend to roam in. Last evening, our cameras captured the manner in which a group of elephants were roaming in the premises of the Hambantota port.
In the past, elephants in large numbers used to roam lands that belonged to the port. Later, the lands were taken over, but the elephants continue to enter.
We've been living in Katuwana for a decade. We gave them our lands. Elephant attacks started very recently. They destroyed our cultivations. They have taken over all surrounding areas for development activities. For the past 8 years, the forests have been cleared and the elephants destroy our crops.
Environmentalists warn that the failure to gazette the managed elephant reserve would lead to serious issues.
The gazette notification for the elephant reserve has not been passed, and as a result the area is not safe. It has not been passed through a legal standpoint. Therefore, there is a growing threat in the area. We are working on finding a solution to this issue, because if not, the elephants will keep roaming free, causing more damages.
Who is being left helpless due to the rapid development in Hambantota? Is it the people or the elephants? Why is this not being taken into consideration by the policymakers? Is it because they are not faced with this issue?
Demonstrations citing various reasons were reported today.
An individual commenced a protest last evening, citing that personnel from the Ambalangoda Divisional Secretariat and the Meetiyagada police were forcing him to grant permission to construct a road across his land to another house. The protester is a father of 5 from Kondagala in Dorala Batapula.
The police, not the divisional secretariat, provided us a solution. He says he will not get down from the tree until a solution is given. He's been there since 4 last evening. All I want is for an official to come here and provide us a solution, so he will climb back down.
Last night, the OIC of the Meetiyagada police arrived at the location.
The divisional secretariat has a right over state land. Since it is state land, the power is vested with her and the government. There is no solution to this. Explain to him.
I did. Our children are in distress. I have a newborn child as well. He had climbed onto the tree when I went to the shop.
Our correspondent reported that the individual called off the protest this evening. People living in the Badda-Konavilavatta tsunami housing scheme demonstrated today over the insufficient supply of water provided to them by the National Water Supply and Drainage Board. They claim that water is provided only once a week and it is not sufficient for their daily needs. The group obstructed the Gaul-Matra main road from Pullatumodara, causing disruption to vehicular movement.
2 bowsers supply water to us once a week. That is not sufficient. Not a single politician has visited the village as yet. These pills for heart conditions must be placed under the tongue. How can we drink them without water?
Thereafter, the Valigama Police HQI Lasantha Buddhika arrived at the location. However, a tense situation arose. After the police HQI engaged in a phone conversation with the National Water Supply and Drainage Board, he promised to provide a solution and the group dispersed.
At a time when people in Waligama took to the streets demanding water, on Action TV tonight we highlight a project where water is being wasted.
When taking into consideration the depth of the Pathana Canal in Karwalagaswa, Puttalam, it confirms to a certain extent that the Mahaveli River flows to the sea from Trincomalee. Water from the Rajangane tank, which is used to irrigate surrounding farmlands, flows into the Pathana Canal. The Rajangane tank also has waters of the Mahaveli River flowing through it. Therefore, it is not wrong to say that the water which flows through the Pathana Canal to the Kalaoya are waters of the Mahaveli River. However, what is wrong is to simply allow the waters of the Pathana Canal to enter the sea through the Kalaoya in Eluankulama. Although there are plenty of lands on the banks of the Pathana Canal which could be used for cultivations, an issue arises when attempting to procure water for such farmlands. The lack of water is the only reason why crops planted on this land appears this way. If water is to be acquired for these farmlands from the Pathana Canal, the Usana irrigation technique should be used. This was confirmed some years ago. As a result, this water tank was constructed in 2013 in the Salyavava area. The technique that ought to have been used to divert water from the Pathana Canal to this water tank is not one which requires a genius-level intellect. A separate building was erected to house a water pump for this project, and electricity was also secured for this building. Nearly 2.5 million rupees have been spent so far on this project. However, the project has been abandoned for the past 3 years. The only part of the project that remains to be completed is to divert the Pathana Canal. When considering the cost that was spent on this project 3 years ago and the cost of the final phase of this project, one could see that only a fraction of the money that was already spent is needed for its completion. Shouldn't steps be taken to complete this project before these constructions turn into ruins and stop the wastage of water from the Pathana Canal? Co-chairpersons of the Puttalam District Development Coordinating Committee, this is over to you.
Nelson Mandela once said, "We owe our children, the most vulnerable citizens in our society, a life free of violence and fear."
At a time when children enjoy the luxury of clean drinking water, there are children who fall ill by simply consuming a glass of water in Periyaparanthan.
Fortunately, through the intervention of the Newsfirst government, the 100 Days initiative, these children too can enjoy access to clean drinking water.
Gum at the 100-day initiative, day 57.
The sounds of gunfire were nothing unfamiliar to those living in Periyaparanthan, Kilinochi. As tensions abated, these children have shown a renewed interest in education as they dream of making a better tomorrow. The children who engage in their studies at the government mixed school in the area with the least amount of resources were faced with an uncomfortable situation due to the water they consume. After identifying the issue at hand, steps were taken to initiate a water purification plant at the school with the launch of the Newsfirst Gum at the 100 Days program. The faces with bright smiles of these young ones in Periyaparanthan invigorated Newsfirst even more. Today, the water project that was undertaken with the people, for the people, was handed over to these children.
I thank the government initiative with all my heart. Children in this school will always remember this great deed. From the time this school was established back in 1922, we did not have a proper water supply. Gamada is the only initiative which helped us.
The Capital Maharaj Organization Limited is a very large organization with thousands of people employed. We get a lot of love and respect from our consumers, from our listeners and from our viewers. So the same love and respect, we tend to look at ways and means of giving back to the society. We assure our little ones who are the future of this country that we will continuously engage with you. Getting clean drinking water to you is only a first step. We will be with you in your journey as a school and in your individual journey as countrymen and women. It's a small project, but I think it's a very crucial project because the health of the children is what is the health of the nation.
A tree planting ceremony also took place in line with the public service initiative by Newsfirst. Following the conclusion of each project, a sapling will be planted in the vicinity and the responsibility of protecting it and maintaining it will also be handed over.
Today I am pleased because the entire school can obtain drinking water from this. You won't have to face hardships to find water anymore. In addition to that, you must take care of these saplings that we planted here. You might recall us one day. You must also protect this water project for the future. Youth like you who went to school and are serving as journalists at our media institution are the ones providing leadership to these projects. You are our strength. Come forward.
You have wiped away the tears of the nation and not only the children.
We are thankful to you who appear on behalf of us.
Newsfirst is prepared to commence many such projects to bring back smiles to people under the Gammadha 100 Days initiative.
The Supreme Court today ordered the Uva Province Director of Agriculture to estimate the loss caused to the farmers victimized as a result of the Uma Oya multi-purpose project and to pay compensation to them. The Supreme Court also ordered that water be provided before the 31st of December to families and farmers who lost their sources of water due to the project.
These orders were issued when a petition filed by 4 farmers on the Bandarawal area was taken up today before a 3-member bench comprising of Chief Justice K. Sri Pawan and Justices Priyantha Jayawardena and Eva Vanasundara. The petition states that the livelihoods of farmers were severely affected when the water source of farmlands of 10 villages was lost as a result of the Uma Oya multipurpose project. A leak occurred in December 2014 when a tunnel being constructed as part of the Uma Oya project cracked open an underground water table. Even though the leak has now been stopped, the construction of the tunnel has recommenced. The environmental damage caused due to the leak has not been rectified as yet.
Private health services have been granted relief through the VAT amendments as outpatient treatment, diagnostic tests and dialysis will be free of VAT.
Joint Cabinet spokesperson Minister Dr. Rajitha Senawatna said the gazette on the VAT amendments approved by Cabinet will be published and thereafter the Finance Minister will present it to Parliament. According to the proposed amendments, the 15% VAT will remain unchanged. As per the previous draft bill, the threshold for the VAT liability of wholesale and retail trade has been changed. Accordingly, VAT will be imposed on wholesale and retail trade with an annual turnover of over 50 million rupees. A 15% VAT will also be imposed on powdered milk with added sugar, sweeteners, telecommunications and tobacco products. VAT will also be imposed on air tickets. It has also been proposed to increase the tax on garments supplied to the domestic market by companies registered with the Board of Investment by 75 rupees a unit. Unjust taxes on electricity and water supply have been removed. The population is 20 million, but there are 21 million mobile phones in the country. Some can switch off those extra mobile devices. Most taxes were removed following the objections that we raised. If a blood test is done in the OPT and if you obtain medication from the pharmacy of the same hospital, VAT will not be charged. The VAT will be applicable for patients who are admitted. For private healthcare, we have appointed a committee to revise prices of medication ranging from pills to surgeries.
5 individuals, including Chanukarat Vatta, who were arrested by the Police Financial Crimes Investigations Division today, were remanded until the 28th of September after they were produced before Colombo Fort Magistrate Lanka Jayaratna.
The 5 suspects, including Chanukarat Vatta, are charged with defrauding 4.2 billion rupees belonging to the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. Thereby, the chairman of Entrust Securities PLC and 4 other members of its board were arrested by the police FCID this afternoon and produced before the Colombo Fort Magistrates Court. The suspects were arrested following a complaint made by the Central Bank charging that the suspects had misused and misappropriated security deposits belonging to 4 institutions that come under the purview of the Central Bank and the Ceylon Electricity Board. Presenting facts to court, the FCID said that further investigations are being carried out and that the estimated loss from the fraud could exceed 12 billion rupees. If Chanukarat Vatta can be charged under the Public Property Act, then the governor of the central bank should be behind bars by now for the bond scam. That was the biggest bond scam that took place in the history of the central bank. Therefore, his son-in-law, Aloysius, should be imprisoned by now. So there is one law for Ranil Wickremesinghe's government's bond scam, and there is another law for Chanuka Ratwatta's bond scam. Why are there two different laws in one country? Meanwhile, leader of the National Freedom Front, Vimal Veeravansa, was questioned by the police FCID over the misuse of state vehicles.
Minister of Education Akila Viraj Karyavasam has confirmed that a group of doctors have unlawfully entered the ministry premises in connection to the issues surrounding grade 1 admissions. Stay with Newsfirst. We will have more details as and when it unfolds. In more news from here at home, no confirmed information has been received yet on the whereabouts of the youth who disappeared after being taken into custody by the Hambantota police. Deputy Inspector General of Police Ajit Rohana told media today that police teams looking into the disappearance were ordered to conclude investigations and submit their reports within the next 2 days. The police stated today that the youth had disappeared after being taken into custody.
9 days have passed since 20-year-old Gigi Gayashan disappeared. According to his relatives, the youth, a resident of the Bandagiriya area in Hambantota, had disappeared after being arrested by Hambantota police on the suspicion of having stolen paddy. The police later said the suspect had escaped from police custody. While a special police team was appointed to investigate the disappearance, a team appointed by the National Police Commission is also looking into the incident.
They think the boy is with us. If he was with us, they would not need to run around so much. None of our family members can move around. If they go to the next door house, the police go to that house and question the occupants. They seem to be blocking our efforts to find the boy. They are not allowing me to unravel this mystery.
I am in tears. I have had no sleep or food. I humbly request that my son be found and returned to me.
Questions regarding this matter were raised during the cabinet press conference.
3 persons were taken into custody. Thereafter, 1 individual had disappeared while in police custody. However, there is no evidence to suggest that this individual disappeared due to the action of the police. False statements have been recorded stating that only 2 individuals were arrested. Going by police protocol and regulations, there have been lapses. We are looking into this. Accordingly, the OIC of the police station has been temporarily transferred with immediate effect. We have instructed the police teams working on this matter to conclude their investigations and submit their reports within the next 2 days. Investigations indicate that he had escaped at dawn.
The new commander of the Sri Lanka Air Force, Air Marshal Kapila Jayampathi, assumed duties in his new role today.
A special guard of honor was held to welcome the new Air Force commander. The Air Marshal assumed duties after being welcomed by the senior officials of the Air Force. Providing a position or a rank does not merely mean providing more benefits. I believe it is my responsibility to improve the physical and mental condition of my fellow officers, Air Force personnel as well as civil servants while improving the resources at their disposal. Over the next 5 years, I plan on implementing a practical and timely development plan for the force which will cause a new upheaval. Yesterday, former commander of the Air Force, Air Marshal Gagan Bulatsinghala, officially handed over duties to his successor, Air Marshal Kapila Jayampathi.
The Colombo-Beijing Friendship Forum 2016 was held in Colombo today.
The forum is jointly organized by the Association of Sri Lanka-China Social and Cultural Cooperation with the Embassy of the People's Republic of China, Mentogo District People's Government of Beijing and the Beijing People's Association for Friendship and Foreign Countries. The forum was held to develop the cultural, educational and economical fields of the country.
In a more professional manner, we are promoting President Xi Jinping's initiation of Silk Route and the Belt. In about over 65 countries alongside this belt can be benefited if we really promote this concept of Xi Jinping. Sri Lanka as a government have not only thought about this, we have actively implemented initial steps towards this. So once investment is brought into our economic zone, I believe Sri Lankan can reap the best economic benefit of this concept. Presently, under His Excellency Maithripala Sirisena President's regime, China-Sri Lanka friendship is moving towards the strongest possible level.
The forum, which is held annually both in Colombo and Beijing, was graced by the director of the Mentogo District People's Government of Beijing, Luo Bin.
An event was held today to elaborate on ensuring that all citizens have access to clean drinking water and sanitation by the year 2030.
The event was held at the auditorium of the Ministry of City Planning and Water Supply.
Unfortunately, in this country we have several institutions managing water, looking after water, water resources. So we in the third world are quite good at it. You know, we multiply government institutions. So we have the Mahavali Authority, we have the National Water Supply and Drainage Board, we have the Forest Department, we have umpteen number of stakeholders. And when it comes to protecting the watershed and the river valleys, then we need to try and bring everybody together, and it's a laborious exercise, and nobody wants to let go of their areas of competence. So that's a very difficult task. Some centralized agency needs to be set up.
That is what is a living organ. We have to treat this as very vital and important for us, because today without water no one can survive. We the human beings are the enemies of the planet. Don't think that we can survive. The nature does not want human beings. Human beings need the nature. We need their services, their support to survive.
Meanwhile, an interesting dialogue took place during the speeches delivered by the ministers.
Let me at the very outset express my deep regrets to my cabinet colleague, Honorable Gamini Jayavikrama Pereira, for keeping him waiting for quite some time. Unfortunately, the fault was in my ministry officials. You see, the official in charge of this never told about the minister's presence today. And if I was told, I would have made it a point, because I had a meeting with the Prime Minister in the morning. I could have adjusted that meeting. Anyway, it's my courtesy, it's the least courtesy I can pay towards a colleague who would drop into my own office, and he's a very senior minister. Therefore, I beg pardon from him initially.
I'll just address you and then after you can go. No, Minister, please. No, you better. I'm happy with the Honorable Rauf Hakim. I won't keep him. After addressing your name, you can go. Please, now, because not fair.
And finally, on sports news, Dinesh Priyantha won the bronze medal in men's javelin throw event at the Rio Paralympics 2016, clearing a distance of 58.23 meters, recording his personal best.
Priyantha, who became the first Sri Lankan to win a medal at this year's Paralympics, finished behind India's Devendra and China's Chun Liangong.
And on that positive note, we conclude tonight's edition of Primetime News. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Mahina Bongzo.
And I'm Shane Silva. Take care and good night.